Wind tore across the empty plains like a starving wolf, dragging grit and broken grass across the tracks. The noon sun burned mercilessly above the wooden platform of Harrow Creek Station, and the air shimmered with heat. A train had just pulled away, its black smoke still haunting the rails as it dwindled toward the horizon. She stood alone. A woman, dust-streaked, coat torn, hair matted with sweat and blood not entirely her own, held a swaddled infant tight against her chest. Her hands trembled not from fear, but exhaustion. Her boots were split at the seams. One sleeve was gone completely, ripped off somewhere between survival and hell. The people on the platform watched her, but no one stepped forward. Something in their eyes wasn't just suspicion, it was fear. She looked like someone who brought trouble behind her. Something hunted her. It was written in her eyes, in the way her shoulders stayed squared, even though her body was about to collapse. She didn't speak, didn't ask for help, didn't beg. The station master took one look at her and hurriedly pretended to adjust his timetable. Two women who'd been waiting to board turned away, whispering. A ranch hand spat over the rail and muttered, "Leave it. Ain't our fight." The woman staggered toward town. Her breath hitched. Her knees buckled once, then again. She caught herself, adjusted the baby, and kept walking. Hoofbeats sounded on the hard dirt road behind the station. Slow, deliberate, a measured rhythm that carried a message all its own. Three riders came into view, dark shapes riding against the sun. Their long coats snapped behind them. Their revolvers hung low on their thighs. Every inch of them reeked of cold intent. They weren't here for business. They were here for blood. The nearest one spoke, voice gravel and whiskey. "There she is." The woman froze. Even from a distance, the riders could see the way she tensed. No one moved to help her. No one even breathed. She didn't break into a run. She knew better. She simply shifted her weight, bracing herself between the riders and her child. The riders slowed their horses to a menacing walk. "Evening, miss," the leader drawled through a smirk. "You've been a mighty hard woman to find. Lucky for us, the territory ain't as big as it seems." She didn't answer. "You're going to come with us now. Real peaceful. We're only after what belongs to us." Her grip tightened around the baby. "You can't have him." He smiled. "Not negotiating, sweetheart. You know how this goes." He reached down toward his holster, and something shifted in the air. A figure stepped off the bench beside the station platform. Nobody had noticed him sitting there. Tall, broad-shouldered, long oilskin duster, dusty hat pulled low, revolver strapped to his right thigh, rifle slung across his saddle. He moved slow, not hesitant but coiled, like a mountain cat that had spent years deciding if it still cared to live. He approached with steady steps and placed himself between the riders and the woman. "Don't see how this is your affair, stranger," the leader said. The cowboy didn't answer. He didn't need to. Silence settled around him like a second skin. A long moment stretched, wide and heavy. Even the wind paused to listen. The leader's smirk faltered. "You're going to step aside now." The cowboy didn't move. He didn't blink. He didn't reach for his gun. He just stood there, staring through the man like judgment made of bone. The second rider scowled. "Hell's wrong with you, mister? You deaf?" The cowboy finally spoke, low and even. "Ride out." The leader stiffened. "You know who you're talking to? Don't matter. You fixin' to die today?" The cowboy's eyes didn't change. "No, but you'll if you push it." Behind him, the woman stood motionless, but her eyes widened just barely. She saw it before anyone else did. The riders shifted in their saddles. They didn't know this man, but they recognized something about him. Danger. The kind you didn't test. The leader bared his teeth. "This ain't over." He flicked his reins. "Let's go. We'll come back with more men than this ghost can scare." The riders turned. Dust rose as they galloped east. When they vanished over the rise, life at the station exhaled, quietly, like it didn't want to be caught breathing. The cowboy turned and looked down at the woman. Her knees finally gave in. She sank to the wooden planks, nearly dropping the child. He knelt, catching both before they hit the ground. "You're safe," he said. She looked up at him. "No one's safe." He studied her, then lifted the child from her arms, not pulling, but taking just enough weight so she could breathe. The baby hadn't made a sound. Eyes open, calm, trusting. The cowboy adjusted the blanket around the child with hands far gentler than anyone would expect from a man built of storms. "You got a name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Names are dangerous," she said. He gave a slow nod. He understood, probably more than she wanted him to. He helped her to her feet. "Best come with me." "No," she pulled back, holding her ribs. I can't. I don't know you." He gave the kind of look that didn't ask permission. "You don't know who's coming after you either." "But I do." She swallowed. "Who are you?" He shifted the baby into one arm, offered the other for support. "Name's Boone." She looked toward the empty horizon where the riders had disappeared. Her voice came out small. "Why help me?" Didn't look like anyone else was standing up. She searched his face for a trick, a reason, a trap. She didn't find one, but he didn't offer mercy in his eyes either. Boone was a man of purpose, a man who had already counted the cost of whatever fight would come next. He nodded once toward the town road. "You coming?" She didn't answer, not with words. She just walked beside him, step by stubborn step. They moved past the station, past the silent bystanders who found the sky suddenly very interesting. Boone didn't speak again as he lifted her into his horse's saddle. He set the baby in her arms, mounted behind, and took the reins. "What should I call you?" Boone asked. The woman looked down at the child in her arms. Dust swirled. The world went quiet around them. "I don't have a name," she whispered. Boone breathed out slow. Then, in a voice deep as old iron and steady as a blade drawn with purpose, he drawled the words that would be spoken in stories long after they were both gone. The hammer struck metal in steady rhythm, sharp, punishing, relentless. Sparks flew in bursts of orange fire from the blacksmith's forge, lighting the edges of Boone's silhouette as he tightened a saddle cinch on his horse outside. "You're being watched," the blacksmith muttered without looking up. Boone didn't turn. He had already seen them. 3 men loitering near the mercantile, pretending to play cards on a crate. They didn't fit. Out here, no one wore dusters clean as river stones or boots polished enough to catch daylight. Riders like that didn't drift, they hunted. Boone pulled his hat lower and finished the saddle strap. "How many saw the posters?" "Enough," the blacksmith said. "Sheriff ain't doing much about it." Boone didn't answer. He didn't expect him to. Harrow Creek was a town of people who had buried their courage long before he arrived. He led the horse away from town and out toward the old Buchanan ranch, abandoned since the grass fires last summer. Smoke still haunted the ground there, like memories that wouldn't die. Inside the dusty cabin, the woman stood over a wash basin, scrubbing blood from her torn sleeve. The baby slept in a wooden crate lined with an old horse blanket. She didn't look up when Boone entered, but he could see the tension gripping her shoulders. "You didn't tell me people are hunting you," Boone said. "You didn't ask," she replied without turning. "You didn't tell me you were wanted for murder." She froze for half a heartbeat before speaking again. "I didn't kill anyone who didn't deserve it." Boone watched her. She wasn't lying, but she wasn't telling the whole truth either. He moved to the table and unrolled a parcel of supplies. Beans, coffee, cartridges, cloth. "I fixed the north fence," he said. "I didn't ask you to," she replied. "Didn't do it for you." Their eyes met. She didn't thank him. He didn't expect her to. Survival made gratitude feel like a luxury. Later, as dusk settled over the plains, Boone stacked hay in the barn while the woman fed the baby near the doorway. Coyotes howled in distant canyons. A cold wind crawled over the land like a warning. Boone's voice broke the quiet. "What do they want with the child?" Her arms tightened around the baby. That alone was answer enough. Boone dropped another bale. "Is he yours?" "Yes," she said quickly, and yet her eyes flinched, a betrayal of truth she couldn't hide. Boone didn't push. He just nodded once and went back to work. They ate in silence that night. The fire in the stone hearth cast flickering light over cracked walls and empty shelves. Boone poured 2 tin cups of coffee, sliding one across the table. She didn't reach for it. "You didn't tell me your name," Boone said. "I told you I don't have one. You got one. You just ain't using it." She stared into the flames. "Names are like open doors. People can walk right through them, take what they want, burn what they don't." Boone sipped his coffee. "I asked your name." Not your history. I don't have either. Boone leaned back. Then what do I call you? She glanced at the child. Her voice softened. Call me whatever helps you sleep. Sleep ain't something I do much. Then don't call me anything. Boone watched her another moment, then nodded once, letting it go. The next morning, trouble arrived. Boone was chopping firewood when he heard the distant crunch of wagon wheels. He set the axe down and wiped his sleeve across his brow, listening. Not one wagon, 3. Moving fast. He stepped inside the cabin. Get in the cellar. Now. The woman didn't argue. She grabbed the baby, dropped into the trapdoor beneath the rug, and pulled it closed. Boone rolled the rug back over it, just as the wagons reached the clearing. Men stepped off, 14 of them. Hire guns. Boone stepped out onto the porch. A tall man in a gray coat approached, flipping a folded paper in his hand. Looking for a fugitive woman. Heard she came this way. You seen her? Boone didn't blink. No. The man studied him. You live here alone? Used to be the Buchanan place, Boone said. Ain't mine. Just watching it till the sheriff sorts some deed business. You a rancher? The man asked. No. What are you? Boone met his stare. Passing through. The man smiled without warmth. Mind if we have a look around? I do. The man's hand hovered over his gun. That sounded like a problem. Boone didn't move. Ain't a problem unless you want it to be. The standoff stretched. One wrong breath and blood would spill. The man finally clicked his tongue. Search it. Boone stepped down off the porch. You won't. 14 hands drifted toward 14 holsters. Because, Boone continued, voice low, calm, certain, you ain't got enough men here to get home alive if you try. The line of hired guns hesitated. The tall man eyed Boone, squinting slightly. Then his expression changed. Recognition. Quiet. Cold. You're Boone, he said slowly. Jonah Boone. A murmur rolled through his men. Some shifted back, eyes uneasy. Boone didn't deny it. The tall man grinned with new understanding. Well then, ain't this interesting? He tipped his hat mockingly. Red Mesa Boone. Didn't know you were still breathing after what happened. Boone's jaw tightened, barely. The tall man leaned forward. We'll be back. And next time, we'll bring enough men to bury you and that woman both. They mounted and rode off, dust trailing like smoke behind them. Only when they vanished did Boone lift the rug and pull open the cellar. The woman stepped out, baby in arms. She looked at Boone, really looked. You knew this would happen. Boone nodded. She studied the man in front of her. Not a simple drifter. Not just a quiet cowboy. Who are you? She whispered. Boone holstered his revolver. Nobody. That man knew your name, she pressed. Why did he call you Jonah Boone? He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped into the barn and began saddling his horse. The woman followed. What is Red Mesa? She asked. Boone tightened the cinch. A mistake. Yours. Yes. He grabbed his rifle and checked the chamber. She swallowed hard. What are you doing? Preparing. For what? He met her eyes, and a cold truth passed between them. War, Boone said. Rain hammered the roof of the abandoned ranch like 1,000 thrown nails. Thunder growled across the plains, and each flash of lightning cut through the cracks in the cabin walls, throwing Boone's shadow long and sharp across the floorboards. He stood at the window, rifle in hand, watching the distant rise of lantern lights moving slowly across the hills. Riders. Dozens of them, fanning out in a hunting pattern. They were coming. Inside, she rocked the baby in the corner, whispering to calm him even though he hadn't cried once. Boone had noticed that. The child didn't cry. Not when hungry. Not when cold. Not even when guns were near. Strange. She watched Boone load cartridges into his belt. They'll kill you if you stay, she said. Boone didn't look at her. Ain't going anywhere. You can still run. He shoved the belt closed. No, you don't even know my name. Don't need it. Her gaze hardened. I didn't ask you to save me. Didn't do it for you, he said. Did it because someone had to. Lightning flared again, and in its white glare, Boone saw the fear behind her eyes. Not fear for herself. Fear for the child. He stepped closer. You trust me? She hesitated. Yes. Then no. Then finally. I don't know. He grunted once. Good. Means you're thinking. By dawn the storm had passed, but the land felt wrong. Muted, watching, waiting for violence. Boone had been up all night setting traps, tripwire bells, dug pits, hidden firing positions. The old ranch had been turned into a fortress. She came outside carrying a pot of coffee, hair pulled back, face pale. He took the tin cup from her. "You didn't sleep." "Couldn't," she said. "Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them catching us." "Fear's fine," Boone said. "Means you're alive." She searched him. "Do you fear anything?" He sipped the bitter brew. "Memory," he said simply. Before she could respond, a rider approached from the north. Alone, white flag tied to his saddle horn. Boone raised the rifle, tracking him the whole way. The rider stopped 30 paces out. "I come from Harrow Creek," the man said. "Sheriff wants a word." Boone jerked his head toward the barn. "Stay inside," he said to her. She obeyed, slipping into the shadows. Boone stepped forward. "Talk." The rider cleared his throat. "Sheriff says riders from the Creed outfit were seen heading this way. Says you're harboring a wanted woman. Says." Boone cut him off. "Then Sheriff should have come himself." The man swallowed. "Sheriff didn't want trouble." Boone stared him down cold. "Tell the sheriff trouble's already here." Boone rode into Harrow Creek alone an hour later. The town was quiet, too quiet, curtains drawn though it was daylight. He tied his horse outside the sheriff's office and pushed the door open. Sheriff Danner looked up from his desk with tired eyes. He wasn't a cruel man, but a beaten one. The territory had done that to plenty. "Jonah Boone," Danner said cautiously. "Didn't expect to see you again." "Didn't expect to be back," Boone said. Danner sighed. "You're stirring ghosts, Boone. Elias Creed ain't a man you want gunning for you. He already is." Danner rubbed his temples. "Then I pity you." "I didn't come here for pity." "No," Danner said. "You came for answers. Elias Creed's men been riding down every trail looking for that woman. Posters say she's wanted for murder. You believe him?" Boone asked. Danner shook his head. "Men like Creed ain't after justice. They're after something else." "What she got?" Boone's jaw tightened. "A baby." Danner stilled. "What?" Boone didn't repeat himself. Danner leaned back. "Then it ain't the woman Creed wants. It's the child." Boone waited. Danner hesitated, then walked to his safe and pulled a folded telegram. He handed it to Boone. Boone opened it. His eyes darkened as he read. "Hold woman. Child belongs to Creed family. Payment on delivery. Signed, Charles Vane, Pinkerton Agency." Boone crushed the telegram in his fist. Danner stepped close and spoke low. "Boone, walk away. Take your horse and go. There's no winning against Creed. The man owns judges, sheriffs, and killers from here to Kansas." Boone didn't move, didn't blink. Danner's voice softened. "You already paid enough for your past. Don't go looking for another ghost to carry." Boone turned and walked out. He returned to the ranch near dusk. She was waiting on the porch, baby in arms. One look at Boone's face, and she knew. "They're coming," she said. He nodded. "Tonight." She shifted. "Boone, you deserve the truth." He waited. "I wasn't running because I killed a man. I was running because I didn't." Boone watched her in silence. She went on. "My husband, he was a Pinkerton, hired by Creed to investigate a land war. He found proof Creed was killing ranchers and taking their land by force. He hid the evidence with someone he trusted me." Boone spoke. "Your husband? He was murdered before he could turn it in." Her voice cracked just once. "Creed didn't kill him. The Pinkertons did. His own men. Because Creed bought them." Boone absorbed it. "But that still don't explain the child," he said. Her grip around the baby tightened. "I told you. He's mine." Boone stared at her until she looked away. "He's Creed's son," she admitted finally. "Born of a woman Creed forced. My husband rescued the child before Creed could hide what he'd done. The boy is proof. Proof of everything." Boone went still. For the first time since she'd met him, true danger flickered in his eyes. Not for her, but for Creed. A bell rang sharply from the tree-line. The tripwire. Then another. And another. Boone lifted his rifle. "They're here," he said. Before they could move, a gunshot split the air, followed by a woman's scream. The baby. They ran inside. The cradle was empty. The window shattered. Mud tracks on the floorboards. Creed's men had taken him. Her breath broke. "No, I know. They took him. Boone, they took him." Boone grabbed his hat and rifle, calm in the storm. Determined. "We're getting him back," he said. She turned to him, wild, desperate, tears burning. Why? Why are you helping me? You don't even know who I am. Boone paused in the doorway. I know enough, he said. I know you ain't a coward. He chambered around. And I know Creed just made the biggest mistake of his life. Gun smoke drifted through the ruins of Harrow Creek like low-lying fog, clinging to the broken fences and shattered windows. The town lay silent, too silent. Doors were bolted shut, curtains drawn. Even the desert wind seemed to hold its breath. Mira stood in the middle of Main Street, a stolen rifle in her hands, the baby sled strapped securely against her chest. She didn't blink as a line of Blackstone gunmen stepped into view at the far end of the street, their boots echoing like a death march. Thought you'd run. One of them called smugly, a black scarf hiding half his face. Mira didn't answer. Her eyes never moved from the road behind them. She was waiting. The rail baron's men spread across the road like wolves moving in for the kill, smirking, confident, cold. What now, girl? The leader taunted. Still hiding behind ghosts and folk tales? A door creaked behind Mira. Sheriff Cole emerged, one arm bandaged, face bruised, eyes blazing with something harder than steel. He held a rifle in one hand, a shotgun in the other. Not ghosts, Cole growled. Just folks tired of being strangled by your boss's greed. Another sound, a slow walk, deliberate and heavy, came from behind. Elias Crow stepped onto Main Street. The silent cowboy, brown duster, black gloves, hat brim low. The kind of man who walked like he'd already counted every grave waiting to be dug. Blackstone's gunman tensed. Crow, the leader spat. Figured you'd crawl out from the canyons eventually. Elias didn't answer. His revolver hung low at his side, holstered but ready. Wind tugged at his coat. A church bell clanged once in the distance, broken and crooked. And here I thought you gave up killing, the man sneered. Elias looked up slowly, eyes shadowed. His voice came quiet but heavy with warning. I gave up killing for money, he said. Not mercy. Gunman shifted. One misstep from either side, and the desert would drink blood. Mira spoke without turning. You don't have to do this, Elias. I already am, he said. The baby stirred against her chest, giving a tiny cry. Not loud, but enough to pierce the tension. A sound far too innocent for a battlefield. Blackstone's men laughed. Is that what this is about? The leader said. A woman with no name and some bastard child nobody wants. No one saw him move, but they heard the gunshot. The man screamed, clutching his hand as his pistol hit the dirt. Elias's revolver smoked, already holstered again. One more insult, Crow said flatly, and I take more than your pride. The gunman cursed and fanned out. Cole raised a shotgun and shouted behind him. Positions. Shutters flew open. Townsfolk appeared with guns. Old muskets, double-barrel shotguns, revolvers that hadn't been cleaned in years. Farmers, miners, storekeepers, widows, faces hard and steady. Not soldiers, survivors. The leader snarled. You people think you can stand against the Blackstone Empire? Elias tipped his hat back just enough for the man to see his eyes. No, he said. We're not standing against an empire. We're ending a tyranny. The first shot cracked through the air. Chaos followed. Gunfire exploded from rooftops and second-story windows. Bullets shattered barrels and tore through hitching posts. A horse bolted down the road, screaming in panic. A lantern tumbled from a porch railing, igniting a fallen whiskey keg. Fire roared to life. Mira crouched behind a water trough, loading and firing with silent precision. She didn't flinch, didn't blink. Every move was deliberate, focused. This was not the first time she had faced a gunfight, and that truth unsettled anyone watching. Cole took a hit to the arm, but roared through the pain, firing back with one hand. Crow, they're pushing right. I see them. Elias moved like a storm. Calculated, unstoppable, terrifying in his calm. He didn't waste bullets. Every shot he fired took someone down. One man burst from behind cover, charging at Mira with a knife. She spun, grabbed his wrist, twisted hard and fast, bone cracked. She slammed the rifle stock into his face. He didn't get up. Cole stared from across the street. Elias noticed too. His eyes narrowed, not in judgment but recognition. Who are you really? His look seemed to ask. But the battle raged on. Blackstone's men had training, strategy, and good rifles, but the town had something stronger. Rage. Hope. A reason to fight. These people weren't defending a patch of dirt. They were claiming their right to live free. A whistle shrieked. From a north road came more riders, Blackstone reinforcements. 24 more. Armed. Mounted. Mean. Cole swore. We'll be overrun. Not yet, Elias said. He knelt beside Mira, still firing. You trust me? He asked. She didn't hesitate. Yes. Good. Then when I say run, you run. Don't look back. I'm not leaving, she snapped. You will, he said, because you have something they want, and I'm not letting them take it. Another bullet struck the ground inches from them. Elias reloaded. You ever ride dynamite? He asked. What? Hold this. He handed her something wrapped in cloth. She unwrapped it. 8 sticks of dynamite bound together with a fuse long as a snake. Her eyes widened. Elias. He stood dead calm. Legends don't die easy. He stepped out of cover and walked straight into the line of fire. Gunmen opened up on him from every direction. Dirt erupted at his feet. Bullets screamed past his shoulders. His coat snapped like a flag in a storm. He didn't duck, didn't flinch. He kept walking. One step, then another. Every gun on the battlefield slowly turned toward him, because what kind of man walks into death unblinking? The kind who has walked through worse. He struck a match on his belt buckle. Flame flickered to life. Mira stared, frozen, heart racing. Elias. He looked over his shoulder at her, and for the first time he smiled. Not a smile of victory, of peace. He lit the fuse. Run, he said. She didn't want to go, but she moved anyway. Something beyond fear drove her. Maybe trust, maybe purpose, maybe destiny. The world erupted in fire as Elias charged the riders. A thunderous explosion split the desert sky. Flames engulfed the road. Horses screamed and scattered. Gunmen were hurled from the blast like ragdolls. Mira shielded the baby and hit the dirt, ringing in her ears. When she looked up, the street burned in a wall of fire, and Elias Crow was gone. A slow hush fell across Harrow Creek. Smoke curled into the sky. The fight stopped. The shooting ended. Blackstone's surviving men threw down their guns and fled into the desert. But the town did not cheer. Cole stepped beside Mira, hat over his heart. The townsfolk emerged quietly, gathering in silence. Even the wind mourned. Somewhere in the distance, just beyond sight, a lone horse stood on a ridge, watching. A black horse. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was him. Maybe legends never stay dead. Mira held her child close. Cole nodded toward her. Crow gave everything to protect you, he said quietly. But why? Who are you, really? Mira looked out at the burning horizon. Wind lifted her hair. There was no fear left in her eyes. Only resolve. My name, she said at last, voice steady, is Mira Crow. And that was the day Harrow Creek didn't just survive. It was reborn.